Hey, what's up everybody? My name's Philip Ellis, and in this video I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks that I use to tune my drums. And I'm also going to show you my specific drum head selection that I use on my drums when I'm playing for Stone worship. Now we're going to tune my 10-inch hanging rack tom. Right off the bat you can see I like my rack toms to be suspended with some sort of suspension mount system. So this one just has DSS drum suspension system. Pearl has a thing called ISS, integrated suspension system. This is an aftermarket suspension system that you can buy and retrofit to pretty much any drum that you have. And then it will allow it to hang freely and have much better resonance than if it were like in a snare basket or even directly mounted. If this was directly mounted to the shell, you would still have less resonance than you do than when you use DSS. For my toms, I currently have on Remo Vintage Emperor coated, and they were installed April 19th, 2017. And so these are over a year old, and they've sounded incredible, and they actually still sound really good. So the only reason I'm changing them is because I look at the date and I'm like, well, it's been a year, so I think I can change my drum heads, and it would probably be beneficial for everybody. So we're going to change it out with just a brand new Emperor Vintage coated. I love Remo, I love Emperors on the toms, I love clear Ambassadors on the resonant side of the toms. If you don't have Remo, or if you can't find it at the store, then Evans G2 on the top and G1 on the bottom is very, very similar to this. And those are also great options. All right, let's just detune this guy. Let's take this off. And once you take the drum head off, you'll kind of see how this DSS system works. It's basically just a series of holes that are attached to this kind of hanging hoop. And then you put it right there. The drum tension rods go through those holes, and that's what keeps it attached to the drum shell. They're just kind of floating around these tension rods, and then that's what this does, is it suspends it to hang freely, and there's no actual mount to the shell. So you take off the drum head, and you're going to throw that over there. We're going to do the same thing we did with the bass drum. We are going to clean it, because it's always good to just make your drums look good, you know? Get any of that dust that's in there from sawdust, from drumsticks, get it out, check the bearing edge. You want to always check the bearing edge, make sure you're good, get any dust out of there. And you'll see I have an Ambassador clear drum head on the bottom, and I very rarely change out my bottom drum heads. They've probably been on there more than a year, but they're okay, because I never strike these unless I'm actually just tap tuning, so they never get worn out. Obviously the air pressure inside pushing and pulling and whatnot, but it's not a big deal. I think you can keep those on for a really long time without having to change them. And I always like the logo just to kind of be matched up with the logo of the drum. So the drum badge logo goes right there. And first, actually, we're probably going to have to put this back on. Think about where you want your drum to be hanging. So for me, I have a cymbal stand that this mounts to, so I know that the logo is still going to be straight ahead when I put it on there. And then you just have to put these on. Okay, so then I'm just going to go ahead and do finger tight on these lugs as well. And I'm actually going to kind of lift this as I get these. I say finger tight, but I'm tightening it down to where the tension rod is making contact with the counter hoop. But I'm not putting much tension on it at all. They all start at a uniform tension, and from there you're going to tighten them. I always like to tap around and listen and take it about a half turn each. And then I like to pick it up and listen. You still hear the flabby sounds, and honestly feeling with your fingers around each lug is going to help you maybe even more than the sound will, because I can tell that these were loose. And then whenever you're tap tuning, I would put this on something that will mute the bottom head so that you don't hear that. And then you can hear this one's lower pitch. Let's go all the way around. Low, high. And so what you're going to do now is you're going to want to achieve the same tone around each lug around the drum head. You're going to want to just tap about an inch away from the edge around each of them, and then try to match the pitch all around. And I would always tune up rather than tuning down. And if you need to tune down further than you think you need, and then tune back up. Kind of like a guitar string. And for the first round of tuning, you're going to actually tune higher than you think you need to be. And I'll show you why. So we have a decently sounding drum right now. We're going to pick it up. Sounds like that. But now we're going to crack the glue. We're going to seat the drum head, because just like a guitar string, when you put new strings on, the guitar player will actually stretch the guitar strings out so that they stay in tune longer, so that they actually maintain their tuning over time. Because if you just try to play a song on a brand new set of strings that hasn't been stretched, then you're going to find at the end of the song they're going to be way out of tune. And it's very similar to drum heads. So what we want to do is we want to actually apply some pressure with just the palm of your hand and stretch it out, kind of crack the glue. And it will take the tone way down. And then you can go around and tap tune and get them all on the same note again. So I'm looking for the lower pitched lugs and tuning them up. And then I'm gonna, it's too high. And you can hear how stretching it just makes it go to a lower pitch. And that is a very close pitch to where I want the drum to be. It actually probably is a little high for me. So I'll take these two higher pitched lugs and go down and then go back up a little bit, and then stretch it. And that sounds really good to me. And obviously when I put it on the drum set and listen to it in relation to the other tom, I'm going to try to get them tuned at intervals to where they sound good with each other. So the bottom head on the tom is tuned just a tiny bit higher than the top head. You can hear that here. So you hear the difference? And what I like to tell people is that every single drum you ever play will have a tuning range at which that drum will sound best. Some people try to tune toms to specific notes, and that's great. You can do that. I will say that sometimes it's much harder to do that and to get them to sound good than if you were to try to just find the sweet spot on that drum. So what I recommend, unless you have to tune to specific notes, I would try to find the sweet spot on your drum. And for me, that's whatever note this is, I don't know. Sounds really good. And that is how I tune my toms. Lastly, I'm just gonna write the date on here, and I like to put it in between the little crown. So it's gonna go 5, 9, 18. Look at that. Let's put little dashes. There we go. So now we know.